This is the SAU Report, a program featuring interviews with the faculty, staff, students, and alumni of Southern Arkansas University in Magnolia.
I'm Melanie Richard.
And I'm Adrienne Lawton.
Today we will be interviewing Mrs. Vasser and Hunter Britton. Hunter Britton is a senior broadcasting major who has been a member of Encore for 4 years and also has attended SAU for 5 years.
Mrs. Vasser has been a professor at SAU since 1979. She is an instructor of speech, theater, dance, and is the director of Encore. Mrs. Vasser, there seems to be a lot of excitement around campus about Encore. Melanie and I and Hunter are all students here, so we know a little bit about it, but can you explain to us exactly what Encore is?
Encore was designed as a public relations group for SAU, and we started in 1981. It evolved from a group called SAU Singers that was part of the music department. Dr. Brinson approached me at that time to see if I would work with a group out of the theater and mass communication department, and we changed our total format for performance, and we became a song and dance troupe that traveled throughout the Arklatex, visiting primarily the high schools in the area, but also we've done some civic organizations and performed for the alumni. We've been to some conventions in the area, and we performed at Holiday and Dixie once in Shreveport, so we've been throughout the area for the last 17 or 18 years.
And how long have you been involved in Encore? How many years has it been?
Since 1981. That was the first year.
Mm-hmm. And now, did the concept develop by one person, or did you all kind of come together to develop the entire program?
It changes.
Mm-hmm.
It reinvents itself every year because you go with the talent enrolled in the class, and if you have soloists like Hunter, you definitely want to feature him in your show. And I usually save Hunter for last because he's always a crowd pleaser and gets such a great audience reaction. And so we try to feature his talents. And he also works in ensembles with some of the other students. But we change every semester.
Hunter, how long have you been involved in Encore?
Well, since my freshman year, I'm starting my 5th year here at the university, and I would imagine not soon after I unpacked the things into my room my freshman year, I was hearing about Encore and getting ready to be involved in it.
So, and Ms. Vasser, what kind of students do you look for Encore? Can anybody sign up for it, or do they have to audition for it? Do you have any kind of requirements?
Encore is a class, and it's open for all the students. There's no specific criteria. You don't have to have prior training in music or dance. If you do, it's great, and we try to feature those talents. A lot of our students do not read music, but they sing well. So we try to give them a chance to sing in groups or as soloists. If we have skilled dancers, we feature them.
So what you try to do, instead of, say, if they're in Encore and they're great singers, try to sway them to dance, you use what their best talent is. You go with that. So, okay.
Hunter, did you perform before you got an Encore?
Yes, I have. I began singing when I was around 6 years old. I was at church, and the choir director came up to me, and just out of nowhere, I don't really know where she had heard me sing or anything, she said, "You know, you're a really good singer." And for some reason, that stuck in my head, and ever since then, I've loved it. I never had vocal training or anything like that. I've just done it all on my own.
So before you perform, what things go through your mind? Are you nervous?
Well, I've heard from different people that they think I'm a different person right before I go on stage. I have a perfectionist type attitude, so the way I see it is when I'm on stage, if I were to make a mistake in a song, I'm afraid everybody would know. When in all actuality, probably nobody would really notice. But I get so worried that I've been known to almost make myself sick. I've thrown tantrums. I've said I wasn't going to perform because the sound wasn't right. I didn't like what I had on. I would have disagreements with guys, say I was singing in a group with that day. I mean, it's just, I really have to have things my way.
So, Ms. Vasser, you're laughing. Could you elaborate and maybe tell us something that he's not telling us?
Well, I try to treat all of the students in the group the same way, and I love all of them, but sometimes if you have an emotional performer, you go to special lengths to keep those people ready to perform and ready to go on the stage. So I carry Hunter's own private Gatorade, and I keep things like lemons and cough drops and water and ice and all of these kinds of things ready. And then if I see that he's getting really tense before a show, and he's been our MC for the last year and a half, I guess, I know that that's an extra pressure of performance for him, and he does do such a good job. He's hard on himself, but he's always a crowd pleaser. I have seen students, after we perform in some of the schools, stand in line to get his autograph. I have literally had to tell some students in high schools that they cannot get on the bus with us and leave, that I have to take Hunter with me, but that they will stay there and we'll come back next year. So,
And to go to SAU if they want to meet him.
right, come back to SAU.
See, I was a part of the crowd that he sang to, and Hunter does not remember this, but when I was a junior in high school, Hunter got on his knees and held my hand and sang to me. So, yes, he knows how to draw in the crowd.
And she's still blushing. So, besides Hunter, Ms. Vasser, what do you do to prepare students who do have anxiety, extreme anxiety, before they go on? Are there some techniques that they can do to help themselves? Because I know myself, I have been in ballet for a long time, and I have the same situation. I am so extremely nervous before I go on, where I almost feel like I'm going to just dash out the front door and never go back until I get on, and then I'm okay. But I have, over the years, have had to learn to use that nervousness to make my performance better. But it took me a long time to learn that, and I wish that I had had someone to help me along the way. Do you help your students with that at all, or?
They may not realize, but I always plan a really high energy movement number for the very first thing we do. And a lot of the students we get are former athletes, and they are accustomed to warming up to release tension before a ball game, or if I have dancers, they do warm-ups before they perform. So we do a really high energy group movement thing at the very beginning of our show, and that helps relax everybody. It also gets the crowd involved with us, and when that happens, it's just natural, and we go from there.
And I know that you guys travel. You go to, like you said, you go to high schools in different areas. Do you find that people enjoy that? Do the students like that, or they dislike that?
We have standing ovations. We have people
Really?
jumping up on the stage with us. If we're in a gymnasium, students, if we go out and get students, sometimes we will empty the stands and the entire student body will be on the gym with us. So occasionally we get a little more participation and excitement from our audience than that I'm comfortable with. So our sound man stands ready to cut the music or move to something that's slower tempo and a little bit less likely to cause a riot.
Hunter, do you like that part of it, and the involvement with the high school students, or do you try to?
Yes, actually, especially in being MC, trying to control a crowd, trying to get a crowd involved that just sits there.
Yeah.
Really makes, it adds on to the stress and to the nervousness of the whole group. Sometimes we'll do group numbers, and like she said, everybody will stand up, scream for 5 minutes, and sometimes we'll get through the number and people will just sit there. We did a show here, just in this area, where the principal did not let them do anything, nothing. They had to sit there. And I mean, the whole group, it threw our whole troop off because we didn't think they were enjoying the show.
Was there a reason for that? Did he ever say?
kind of a repressive
Just
school
school.
environment. A lot of administrators, and probably with good reason in some schools, have had to enforce such strict discipline policies that they're afraid to let the students relax and enjoy a performance. So we still have to give it a lot of energy, even though we're not getting a lot of response.
That's very hard to do.
So it is hard. It's difficult.
Hunter, how do you get your audience involved? What do you do to prepare to perform, and how do
Well-
you get your students to?
Besides holding their hands.
To prepare for a performance, I really don't do anything. Miss Vasser always got on to me, even in speech class, because I never prepare for anything. I just do it. But as far as the crowd is concerned, the first thing I try to do is when they're all filing into the gym or to the auditorium from class, I try to get a feel of how they're going to be. I mean, if they walk in and they're paying attention to everything we do, which is just setting up and getting ready at the time, then I figure, hey, we're going to have a pretty good one. If they can come in and they're all talking amongst themselves and not really looking at us, then, they're probably just sitting there to get out of class. So some crowds I term hopeless because they just won't get involved. But a majority of the crowds that we perform for, if they're not right off the bat really, really into it, they are by the second or third number. So.
Ms. Vasser, do you assign particular performances for each student, or do they have to come up with their own material? Are there particular things, like say if you're going to a high school in Emerson, do you say to Hunter, I'd like you to sing, or do they come to you and say, I'd like to do this?
We do this both ways. In all of our shows, we try to do a mix of different types of music. We may do some country music, some pop, some rap, some rhythm and blues. We try to do a variety of music, but for the soloists, a lot of people who entertain a lot already, and I've had several who have done this, they have their own music, or they know what they want to do. Now, a lot of times I try to order special things for them. This past semester, I Believe I Can Fly was a big number. We heard it a lot on the radio, so I knew I had someone who could do that. So I ordered that one for Hunter, and he closed our show at the end of the semester with that one, and it was a great crowd pleaser. But that was a timely song. Next year, there may be other things.
Right.
So if the students have a particular interest, we focus on that. But if they don't have any particular interest in a song, I will try to listen to them, see what they need to use their talents.
So Hunter, how do you choose the songs that you're going to perform?
Well, usually I just go by what's on the radio. I mean, what's hot, what's new, because what I do I guess how I prepare for a show is I always sing in like my truck or in my room when I'm by myself constantly. If there's a song I want to sing, it comes on the radio, that's when I practice. I don't think, like a song I did for 2 years was Lady by Kenny Rogers. And the reason I chose that, the reason I chose the song, my mom said she thought I could sing it. And I started singing it, and I used to be really bad about wanting to do it just like the performer on the radio. And Miss Vasser and a couple of my guy friends I met through Encore, my mother, all said, well, just do it your own way. So then I started doing songs my own way, getting better crowd response because, I don't know, I don't guess people like copycats, but I always thought if I didn't do it just like Kenny Rogers, they would laugh at me, or they would think I was doing it all wrong, and that's not the case.
Ms. Vasser, what type of other performances besides singing? I mean, what have you seen like in the past years, things that people have done?
We do group dances. We have people who say the first day of class, I cannot dance. And before the semester is over, we have everyone dancing. I like for everyone to be in a couple of the numbers, moving. And then we feature dancers who've had a lot of training in other numbers. We've done some lyrical jazz as kind of a backup for a soloist.
I had heard once that someone did Tina Turner.
Yes, we've had Cassandra Napper
hit.
Owens
Uh-huh.
Huge hit.
has been our answer to Tina Turner.
Yes.
And she's wonderful. She's absolutely wonderful. She's expecting a baby right now, so we had to let Tina take a rest this past semester, but she's absolutely wonderful.
That's wonderful.
And gets the crowd into it. She goes up into the stands if we're in a gym and sits by people and sings.
Is there anything you discourage, any type of talent that people may want to do, or do you pretty much give them free, just free room and say, go for it?
I try to do that. A lot of the contemporary music is probably not appropriate to go into some of our conservative small high schools. I listen to the lyrics, or I try to if I can understand all of them. And I have slipped up a couple of times and realized that we probably shouldn't do this number, but that's the only thing we really watch for. Occasionally when we pull audience members into our performance to dance with us, I try to brace our members that occasionally we will get an overzealous dancer and that they are in control of that situation, and if things start getting out of hand, that they will be the ones to control it and to take special care not to let it get out of hand. But we really don't have censorship. I think the students in the group realize what's appropriate for performance, and they try to stick to that.
So Hunter, I mean, what kind of songs do you like to perform? Do you have a specific kind that you like to sing, or do you sing everything?
Well, I guess you could pretty much say everything, because I do like a lot of weddings, chamber commerce banquets, different things like that, and it's different varieties for different shows. I prefer to sing contemporary popular music that everybody hears every day on their radio driving to work. And but like, wedding, a lot of people choose country songs now for their weddings. Chamber banquets and stuff like that, usually countries, maybe a couple of older tunes. But there's not any type I wouldn't sing. I've always said I would sing anything, anytime, anywhere, any place. It doesn't matter. I'll do it. I just love it. I think country music's easy to sing. I think stuff like R. Kelly and Boyz II Men, that's a challenge. I really like doing stuff like that, but that's probably what I feel most comfortable doing is that.
Actually, Ms. Vasser, I actually wanted to go back just a little bit about going on the road. Do you do different performances when you go on the road? Since you are going to high school, some of them are younger. Do you do more song or more dance, or because I know that we do different things here at SAU? Do you change the dance, or?
We really try to plan our program with a focus on that younger audience. We do 2 shows when we go on the road, usually. And that is quite a challenge, because not only are these people performers, but they're also techies, and they have to unload. So our people who solo in 30 minutes have to lift the big speakers and do all of the tech work too. Hook up the sound, break down the sound, unload it, then put it back out again. So it's quite a strenuous job, and not only taxing as a performer, but it's physically exhausting.
And during the semester, how many times do you go out on the road?
I try not to take the students out of the same classes so many times that they flunk out of college. We probably, during a year, see about 12 to 15 different groups.
Do you find your students come up to you afterwards that are in high school and say, oh, this is wonderful, I'm thinking about going to SAU, I would love to do this? Do you
Every
find?
show.
That's wonderful.
And usually are most interested in the possibility of a scholarship. And we've just recently received a small amount of money that can be used to reward students. Hunter was a recipient of that last year. Some others who were proven performers who could be enrolled in the class and be there every time, and the ones who've proven themselves and shown wonderful talent.
If you've really never performed before, but you would like to, you can get in the class. There isn't any
It'd
prerequisites.
be the perfect place to start.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, really, really. I've always said if I could, I would have majored in Encore. Really, it's if you want to start performing, it's definitely it's like a family. I mean,
Do you have, or either one of you, do you have a favorite performance or or show that y'all done? Specific high school where the show was just excellent. Do you have a favorite?
I would have to say me and I believe 4 other. Tyrone, Brandon, Andy, Steve. Me and 4 other guys went to the FHA. It's the FHA.
No, it's FBLA.
FBLA, like some regional convention or something at Henderson State University, and it was packed. I mean, we were in Arkansas Hall performing. I did a solo. Then we all did some group numbers, and we ended up on a Boys to Men tune, and I mean, it was awesome. Every single person in that place loved it. I mean, that's what I thrive. I mean, I just really, to me, that's what my life's supposed to be like, is being up on stage. And it's not that it's knowing that I'm up there doing something that scares me to death and people they like it.
Right.
I'm my worst critic. So.
Do you believe that students like Encore? I mean, the majority that take them, or do some of them just become so frightened that do you have a lot of people that drop the class once they discover?
Not very often.
Not very often. Once they discover what they're doing now.
Sometimes people have schedule complications. I know Hunter's had a couple of semesters where he was not in the class, but I kept him posted on our performances, and he never missed a performance, even when he did not take the class as a class or meet with us every. I have a lot of students who take it for 4 semesters for credit, and then they stay with it for 4 or 5 years without credit. So they must enjoy it. I hope they do.
Do you do a lot of preparation before, say if I was to come to the class and had no experience at all, do you do a lot of preparation before I have to do a live performance, or am I doing it next week?
No.
Because
in the fall semester, we start with nothing we've ever done before. So we go for about 6 weeks just rehearsing, soloist getting ready, group numbers getting ready, learning dances. And by the time you have your class on the stage for 6 weeks, and we always have visitors in our class, so you've had an audience. Adrienne and I were talking about this earlier. I think that the advantage of having your classroom on the stage helps you relax about performance. It's quite a thrill.
So with Hunter learning new performances every year, every semester, have you ever forgotten what you were supposed to do, or words to a song, or?
I tell you what, I'm really, really bad, especially since I became the MC. I'm really, really bad about introducing this big, hot new dance number that Encore's finna do and running off to the side and sitting down, because I don't like to dance. I don't feel that I can dance. Anyway, as far as forgetting something on stage, there have been times where I have been on stage, just finished singing the first verse and the chorus of a song, going great, everybody loves it, and I can't remember the second verse. So I'll sing the first verse over again, and then just go on from there, and usually nobody really ever notices. But I do, and I hate it, and I kill myself afterwards. It's bad, ugly. But I try not, because I get so worried, and because I make myself so sick going over it in my head, I usually don't make really big mistakes. Sometimes my voice will squeak or something like that, but nothing major.
Do students have particular problems when they're in the class? Have you had any problems with people just not wanting to do what you want them to do, or just saying no?
I don't think anyone's ever just told me no, but I've had a few young men who are reluctant dancers. It must be that it seems unmacho or something, but usually by the end of the semester I still have a few who would like to get out of the dance numbers, but most of the time we all get up and do the same things. And I think because everyone is unique and they have their own talents, we're very supportive of each other, and no one, even though we all love Hunter's solos, I think he would be the first to tell you that no one is a star in the group. Everyone is a star. If they are a back row dancer and they're just learning to move their bodies for the first time ever in their life, those people still feel good about their performance because we don't let anyone come off as a prima donna. Everyone has a chance and everyone's special.
Team
in the
effort.
group. Very much team effort.
I think the audiences we perform for don't see one particular person, regardless of how many solos or how many group numbers we have. They see us as a group.
As a group.
Yeah, you can really tell by the reaction.
So, I mean, with all the students that you do have performing, have you ever just really wanted to kill somebody because they did something wrong?
I've had some students who have some really serious problems from time to time. You run into students who are having a hard time dealing with whatever adolescents and young adults have to deal with, and like any other teacher, I have to spend some extra time with those people, but I tend to worry about them and adopt all of them in a way, so their problems tend to become my problems too, and I spend a lot of time thinking about them, worrying about them, trying to help them.
So with Hunter, have you ever just really wanted to hurt him?
In fact, I think that there has been a time, hasn't there?
Hunter's really hard on himself. We've already mentioned that, and he gets really stressed, I guess is the word, before a performance because he wants to do his best, and that performance that he remembers as the very best of his life almost was a disaster. He was so nervous before that show, and I remember having to just get right in his face and just give him a good lecture.
She had never really, that's the most upset I believe I'd ever seen her, and then, I mean, it was at me, and Miss Vasser's my mom on campus. I mean, she looks after me, and she's like that with most of the members of Encore, and you don't think this little lady could put you in your place, but I threw that little tantrum because, well, first of all, I didn't realize there were going to be 12 million people in the place, right? So I walk in, I'm just like, and so then the nervousness and the stress starts piling on, and I threw a fit. I started stomping and screaming and cussing. I was really upset and out of line, and she snapped at me. And
I have a low tolerance for tantrums and female whining.
very low tolerance.
I don't do that either very well.
I know that from taking your class. I tried to whine one time and I couldn't get away with it again. I know we were talking earlier about, I really like the concept of how you teach your class on the stage instead of being in a normal classroom. I think it kind of desensitizes the students from all of a sudden have practiced their talents and then all of a sudden getting on stage and going. And so with you practice on stage, and even if it's to empty seats, like you said, it seems to work very well.
I think it helps.
It does help.
Really
There's
does
still a
help.
big difference when you see all those people looking at you when you get to a high school. But yeah, I never really thought about that, with it being better to be on stage.
We
but
always have visitors. We have some audience every class,
pretty much every
period.
class.
I can't think of a day that we haven't had someone in front of us. So we encourage visitors. I think it helps our group.
I know when I had a class with you last semester, we had a performance, and mothers and relatives and everyone came, and it was wonderful.
We have a lot of family
A lot of family
support.
that come, and
Hunter's mother brings cookies.
oh,
When we perform, she brings us cookies.
well,
She's a great mom.
I'm going to be an Encore. Will you make sure next semester she
Yes.
brings them?
Most definitely. Absolutely every year.
Now, Hunter, since you get so nervous before you go and perform, what would be, can you remember any just most embarrassing moments with your performance?
Again, I guess because I worry about it so much, the most, I guess, almost embarrassing moment, we performed in Minden, Louisiana. We were doing a Boyz II Men number, and they were really an active crowd. Through the whole show, it didn't matter what we were doing, they were active, and I almost got pulled off stage. I walked out on a ramp off the stage. We were doing a Boyz II Men number, and I was right in the middle of one of my little, I don't know, kick-in things, and this girl grabbed my pants leg, and we had to get all the sound guys come stand around the stage, and that would have embarrassed me to death had I fallen off that stage.
In closing, Mrs. Vasser, what can we expect from Encore in the future? it seems to me it's going to be around for a very long time, and people just seem to enjoy it. And do you have any certain special plans or things that you'd like to do that you haven't done already?
It really depends every semester on the students in the group. And if we have students with special talents in different areas, we feature them. We'll try to stay abreast of the new music, the new dance styles, and feature the new things that appeal to high school audiences. But we really try to stay flexible and reinvent ourselves every semester.
Well, we thank you so much, Mrs. Vasser and Hunter. I'm Adrienne Lawton,
I'm Melanie Richard.
closing for SAU Report.
The SAU Report is a production of broadcast journalism students in the Department of Theater and Mass Communication at Southern Arkansas University in Magnolia.